double down on yourself. And like what I mean is like bet everything on you. Cause it's like, why not? And that could be a lot of different things. You probably think like, all right, what do you mean? Like maybe that's you, going back to school, or maybe not even going to school. Maybe it's you getting a certification or taking a class to learn a new skill or traveling to go to a conference or a workshop. It's like, how are you investing in yourself? It's like, if you really want to DJ, buy some DJ equipment, or like get a mentor, like whatever you got to do to make you better. It's like double down. It's like, don't wait, like start today.
You are now listening to The Gradient Radio, an open space to converse about creativity with creatives. And I am your host, Antonio Knox. And today we have a special guest. Today our guest is a man of many ambitions. Not only is he a professor by day, he is a creative director at night. Today our guest is Ricky Parker.
Thank you for having me here, man. I'm excited.
Thank you for being a part of this, bro.
Nah, man, like the first season was amazing. I'm happy to be here for season 2, and definitely I'm excited about chopping it up, just by what I've been working on and just what's been going on with you.
Yes. Thank you for taking some time to be a part of this. I know how busy schedules can be, and you kind of created space for this opportunity. So
yeah,
I want to say thank you for that.
No problem.
So for those people who may not know who Ricky Parker is, could you let the people know?
So I'm Ricky Parker. For those who don't know me, I consider myself one of two things, a professor and a creative director. I think a lot of the things I do creatively, it falls outside of just the work I do with my agency, Dream for Purpose, that me and my wife co-run. But I think I approach a lot of situations in consulting, whether it's like music or even art, from a creative direction standpoint. I think in that it's kind of helped me understand like how can I lean more on my skill set is like really on aesthetic. And from there, I kind of can partner with other people and allow them to do what they do.
Yeah. So tell me about Dream for Purpose.
So Dream for Purpose has been like a brainchild of mine since like 2011. Really came to me out of inspiration, just wanting to do something more, really wanting to help people. Initially started out doing clothing. That was like the initial offering, and really getting positioning, like creating brand awareness. But early on, as we were doing clothing and product, there were a lot of people just reaching out, just wanting services. And, the goal for me over time, just growing it. Like an inspiration, just agency-wise for us was like Donda. Mm-hmm. And so even just kind of being boutique, but being in a very unique space of, product, experience, content, those are kind of like my skill sets where I feel like you probably see it too, you kind of got to lean more into the things you really want to do where, there's a lot of the projects I've had where I realized like what are the things that, excite me, so I get excited about programming or like curating events or even this idea of like, content development where I feel like, everyone needs content. And so I'm in a lot of different conversations with people just about content and like, how do we curate content in a way where like the aesthetic, is appealing, but it's also, how you feel like how to be innovative, So I think a lot of my skill sets overlap, but I think the fact that I'm in industry as well as in the classroom, I kind of able to apply, the best of both worlds. Because even at VCU, I teach a copywriting class. And I've been teaching that for like the last 2 years. But even with teaching that class, it's made me even get a lot more sharper, just like my own personal projects, working with clients, and just really kind of, having this emphasis about, who is our audience? Who are we communicating to? how do we make sure this connects? Because the whole thing with social media or digital is so much noise. Every day we wake up, we get on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. It's noise, and so like the things that really stick out to us, or like we stop and we actually go to the page.
Mm-hmm.
That's the stuff that's on our frequency, and so I think for me it's just like always just kind of figuring out a frequency and just really creating a lifestyle around that.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like you do a lot of incredible things. You spoke to, just doing the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, earlier in my career, I was just doing things.
Oh, bro. I think everyone does it. I think you realize it probably a lot sooner than I did, but I think we all fall into that trap.
Mm-hmm.
Think I just got to do stuff to just so people can see me instead of like really doing the work you really want to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So have you felt as if you found that pocket of like everything that you want to do?
Yeah, man. I feel like I'm really in a rhythm where at this point I just want to scale. Where I'm teaching, that's going great, but even with that, I'm positioning like the transition out of that where like last year, me and two of my friends, we launched a wine venture called Shockoe Wine. It's doing amazing right now. If you haven't heard of it, go to ShockoeWine.com. We're in Wegmans right now. We're in Common House.
That's amazing.
Nah, thank you, man. God is amazing. But it's just like just different things like that. It's even been in a position of being like a 1/3 owner, of a wine label that is getting like an incredible response, so far, where we shipped to 39 states. Where this ain't even been a year yet, and so for me, it's just like the positioning of it, where it's like things you prayed for, just you don't know. Like, all right, I would want to do this one day, but I don't know how to get there, and so. I'm at this place now where I constantly find myself like always evaluating and reevaluating what's on my plate.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's even now, it's just like, what's on my plate and what do I really want on my plate?
Yeah.
And like, what can I remove where it kind of served its purpose or a season? And so like, I'm big on that where like, I kind of see a lot of stuff I'm doing in higher education, like the season for it is kind of coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, just with the wine or just even what I'm doing, like consulting wise, there are a lot of different opportunities, with it where there's a lot of growth for me where, that excites me, just from the clients I'm able to work with, the diversity of that, from even just working in sports to working in music, I think all of that excites me where I have the ability to kind of really do the things I'm passionate about, but coming in a way where, my skill set is valued, where I don't really have to, go through this whole thing of proving who I am, but it's kind of already this understanding of, what I bring to the table, and, the clients I'm able to work with, they really just let me do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm also trying to get to that space too now, where I don't have to prove myself.
It's gonna come.
Like when it comes to like clients.
Yeah.
Right. So a client reached out to me not too long ago, and they found me just do a channel from some work I did for somebody else.
Okay.
And the way they were speaking to me, they wanted my work, but they wanted me to prove that I was like capable of like doing the work. So I had to go through the process of like, just imagine like an actor, going to like casting calls and all of that, and the actor's like already established, like his work is like already there, but he still has to prove that he's like
I know what you mean,
perfect for that spot. And I just kind of like want to get to a spot like in my career or
but this is it, and it's like you gotta ask yourself, what is the work you really want to do? Or this is why I think it's so important to have passion projects.
Yes.
Like the thing that really like propelled us as an agency was like the Black is Beautiful campaign.
Yeah, that's fire.
And like it came from a place of us just wanting to do something dope. Like me and Whitney, like we were like, yo, how do we just do something? Like all this is going on. Like, how do we do something more? Like everybody was doing a T-shirt, and it was just like, it feels like so knee jerk. Like, how can we do something where it's like really a moment? And it became something. And in that, I met a lot of people, like a lot of interesting people, just all for like, I just want to meet you. Like, hey, can we do like an informational interview? Like, and in it, I just think you gotta just do the work you really want to do, and like you put that out, that becomes the portfolio. Where I think as creatives, the last thing we did is really our portfolio. You know, that's like the thing people are going to judge us on. And so if you're not constantly creating or working, you know, it's like the person who wants to like shoot music videos, but you ain't shot no music videos, you know, or you ain't figuring out a creative way to even create something from scratch where, I don't know, I think that's the thing I realized, you know, like we all can be Jay-Z at this level. Like we all could be Jay-Z. It ain't no barriers to it. Whatever you want to do, you can start at this level and scale up. Where like I think a lot of times it's this misconception that I have to put all this work in, pay my dues, and then I'm going to arrive to this promised land where everything I want's going to be there. Where it's like, nah, a lot of the stuff is attainable now. Where it's like you're going to have to put in more work.
Yeah.
Or you're going to have to network, or you're really going to have to show like what is it that you bring to the table. Where I was just telling this to like a class the other day. I think it's so important just for people like as young adults, as humans, that we know three things. We know what we're great at, we know what we're good at, and we know what we're bad at. Because self-awareness is so important where it's almost like, because I was at this place at once where I wanted to work at these brands, but I really couldn't do the work of like what these positions was. It's like I just wanted to work at this brand, but it's like, I really don't want none of these roles. And so you really got to be honest with yourself. Like, what work do you really want to do? Because I think when you're honest with yourself about that, you're going to attract that work, or like that work's going to come natural, or it's going to be something you got in the archive that you could show somebody and be like, oh, yeah, you're who I'm looking for. Because that's the whole thing where as creatives now, like everybody and their mother a creative director. Like everybody do branding and marketing now, and so it's like, what do you really do though? Like, like what do you bring to the table? Where I feel like the most important thing I think is just perspective. You know, like as creatives, like we all have a perspective, but like leaning more into like who you are. You know, where like this is what I'm realizing now. Like I go how I look everywhere, like locks and all. Like I mean, a bunch of different environments now, but I'm realizing the fact that like I'm like leaning heavy into who I am, and where it's just like, nah, I'm not gonna like play this game where like I don't know who I am. It's like you asked me to be here because of like what you heard or what someone may have told you. Where like I'm gonna be that person, and I think it's almost like just as like creatives of color, you know, black creatives, you know, we got to be unapologetic, you know, about who we are, because a lot of times there'll be these positions where, or these crazy situations, you know, you'll be working with brands or trying to, you know, get to the bag, and like people will put you through these loopholes, man. And it's like, I've just seen it. It's like the stuff you'll deal with now as a creative, like we're trying to get somebody to pay you, you're going to deal with these brands. And it's like, it's this whole thing of never losing sight of who you are and like what your worth is.
Yeah. So you spoke about Black is Beautiful and that whole, what would you call it, installation?
Yeah, so it was like installation, outdoor installation campaign.
Yeah. I remember when I saw it the first time, because the first one was, where was the first one?
Jackson Ward,
yes. And I remember when y'all put that up, and I went there. It was a rainy day too, and I was like, I had to get this. Because it felt so different. It felt so monumental. And then also, like, when you bring out the merch for it, it was just, like, a combination of, like, so many different things.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I definitely got to send you, I don't know if you've seen my movie yet, but, like, it's a little surprise in there about Black is Beautiful.
I got to check it out. You got so much stuff going on, man. It's hard to keep up with you. But I'm going to definitely check out your movie.
I'm going to send you the link, and you let me know once you see the scene. Just let me know.
You know, I wanted you to kind of shoot for it, like initially, you know, when we were doing it. But
yeah.
I think with it really started from this place of just first being self-aware, then being aware of everyone that was around me. And so with being self-aware, the fact that like we were doing COVID, so we did this campaign, 2020. We launched it the week of Juneteenth, 2020. But during this time, you know, we were all in COVID. You know, it was lockdown. It wasn't like the COVID we in now. We wear masks and everybody's going out. We was in lockdown, so nobody was doing anything. And so in this, you know, there were the protests for George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. It was just like a lot of stuff just in the news, or even the protests were happening here, just even about like the Confederate statues on like Monument Avenue. And so just being aware about this, it became this thing about frequency. Because I'm in a lot of different spaces and rooms. Mm-hmm. Black Lives Matter didn't translate well with everybody. Mm-hmm. I understood the purpose of it, but in it was a conversation it felt to a lot of different people that I wasn't included, or I'm not included in the black, what you're saying, whether it's a black person who's trans or identifies as non-binary or something, or even just we get to the conversations of people saying all lives matter or blue lives matter. It was this whole thing of feeling, I feel like it stated a point, but like it wasn't an inclusive conversation where like the rebuttals back didn't even help support the point. Yeah. And so me and Whitney were thinking, I was like, what is something that can be empowering but also educational? Where like if someone black sees this is a reminder. Like everything else I'm seeing in the media that's going on, that like, yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm. Like, so and it was us thinking that, and like just thinking about Black is Beautiful. It was just something that kind of stood out, where I felt like, you know, just thinking about when initially we started Jackson Ward, just thinking about like if it was a little kid walking from Giflin Court, just seeing this, you know, like how could this change their outlook? Or, you know, even just how that community is now gentrified. You know, if someone who's non-white saw this, mm-hmm. you know, how does this open their eyes? Like, oh, wow, I never even heard this or even knew this was a thing. And I'm like, okay, you know, it becomes this multi-layered thing. And it really became a conversation where, you know, people helped us, you know, take this campaign, this outdoor installation to other cities, where we were able to go to Norfolk, we were able to go to Charlottesville, Tappahannock. And it wasn't just off of, oh yeah, we wanted to do this. It was really the people, you know, people really got behind the campaign, or they really believed in, you know, what we were saying, or it translated in a way where like people, whether they were black, non-black, whatever, like everyone was all in this. Is like, this makes sense. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know, man, I think it's like projects like that like I'm proud of, where I ain't making no money off of it, but in it shows a lot of things, capability. Yeah. The level of execution, or just even thought, with just even a rollout for it, or everything, or even just what you talk about, even like the merch component, how we partnered with Virginia Union, you know, did a whole merch collection. Yeah. Proceeds from the collection was donated to the art department. Mm-hmm. And so like in that is just really thinking about how can you do something where there's a give back, but it's not always self-serving. And so I think that's the piece where it's like I'm most convicted about, like, how do I not have a self-serving attitude in like what I'm doing? And like, you know, how, you know, the biggest thing that motivates me, like, how can I make sure I'm doing God's will? Because it's like it was a good portion of my life, just even being a creative, I was focused on the wrong things. And it showed in my results. Like, it may have been some success, but like it was never on the level of like where my life is at now, or like the things I'm aligned with, where my motivations were wrong. And I think a lot of times you have the wrong motivations. You're so like concerned with self. It ain't no way. God can't use you. People can't, you know, can't use you or work with you, where it's this whole thing about, like, we're all here for a purpose. And so I even like look at like everything I'm doing this is like vocational. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't just look at it like haphazardly. I look like, you know, this is like my life's mission, you know, the work I'm doing, you know, like at the end of the day, like, y'all gonna read about this in history books, like the stuff I'm doing, where I'm only 35. Yeah. And so in it, anybody who's younger than 35, this would be inspiration to you that like you still got time. But like even for me,
You still got time.
oh bro, I know. It's like I just look at it where it's like the runway of opportunity is there, where I don't have to be so anxious.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of times we're younger, you know, we're so anxious about getting somewhere so soon. We're losing sight of like what's really our path. Because what's my path? It's my path. Like
Yeah.
ain't no barriers, ain't no roadblocks. This is my path.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but I think when we deviate from that, you know, we start following what's trendy, following what everybody else is doing. Where a lot of times you're gonna have to hold tight to a conviction that like everyone thinks it's not cool.
Mm-hmm.
No one thinks this is gonna work.
Yeah.
Cause a lot of times that's the stuff where like you got something where when everybody's behind it, be fearful, bro, because it's trendy.
Mm.
Like when you got an idea and you feel like it's scary, I almost gotta do this by myself. This how you know like you really need God.
Yeah. Facts.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like in everything that you do, you want God to be in it completely.
Yeah.
And you want it to be something that lasts long. So like you think about legacy in terms like when you create these projects.
Yeah.
Or how it will affect people.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I know like just as creatives, like you even see this. I think we see this in art. We even see this in music. You see this in architecture. It's like there's so many like works of art that outlive the people that create them. And so in it, just from my skill set, like a big piece of my skill set is like building infrastructure. Like I understand like project management, like operations, but I also get branding and aesthetic. And so a lot of times for creatives, this is the piece that's missing a lot of times where like this whole thing, how do I have infrastructure behind like my art? You know, how do I understand how to monetize my art or really make this a business or, you know, scale? Mm-hmm. And so for me, I just think about, you know, just the work. You know, like I love the work. You know, like that's what gives me. It's like Tyler, the creator, said this once. Now I feel like I'm at this place. I just love executing ideas. And it's like I'm a type of person. If I believe something needs to happen, like that's my conviction. Like it's one of the things I'm gonna say here is like this whole thing. I believe Richmond needs an NBA team.
I saw that.
And so like in it, I'm gonna start a whole campaign where I believe Richmond should have a G League team. I did research this morning. Their G League teams in Birmingham, Alabama, and Portland, Maine. Both of these cities have smaller populations than Richmond, Virginia. And so in it, it's just almost this whole thing of like everybody like, yeah, they're not gonna vote. I don't care. Like they ain't vote for your idea. Like this is a whole nother idea with like we can have a G League team at the Siegel Center.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where it's not this whole thing. You got to figure out how can we work into like the infrastructure is already here and then build something. Because the whole thing I know about Richmond, people love sports.
Yeah, so when you said VCU football team too.
Oh yeah, VCU football team. You know, I feel like it's time. I feel like if VCU had a football team, because now it's just the whole thing I'm thinking about for the fact that like Richmond is like my home. Richmond is my second home. Like I'm originally from Maryland, but like Richmond is home. And so like the fact that I love Richmond so much, like I've seen the Navy Hill project, what happened with that. I watched what happened with this Casino One project. And so in it's just thinking like, all right, what are the other things that are going to be like opportunities to spike revenue or like to really provide infrastructure for the city? Like I believe on one side, you know, once they pass legislation for like dispensaries, that's going to be a boom. But you just think about it, you know, if a school like VCU had a football team, like what would that do, you know, like, or what would that bring when you think about even just the companies that are here? You got like Capital One, you got Dominion, you got CarMax. Where like these national brands where like they wouldn't want to get behind something like this, like VCU having a football team or it being a G League team here. So this is my thinking where like, this is the whole thing of access. I think the fact now I'm in these rooms, and like when I speak about these rooms, it's like, you know, I'm on the board for the Poe Museum. I'm on the board for like Art 180. And so a lot of people I'm having conversations with, they're not even our age. They're like 20, 30 years older than us. And so it's like a lot of game I'm getting just about what they've seen, what they know about opportunity for things to happen, or, you know, just where interest is at. And so it's just kind of, I think that's the whole thing about it. You got to kind of really play to the interests of the people. That's the only way you're going to be the people's champ.
Yeah.
The people choose their leader, you know what I'm saying? And so as long as you're playing to that, and I think just kind of paying attention to it. But, you know, for me, I just want to make a lot of big stuff happen.
Yeah. I've since, you know, when we first met and, you know, the relationship we developed over the course of the years.
Yeah.
With being in these spaces, being in these rooms, have you developed more confidence because you've been able to be in these spaces with these different kinds of people?
No, not because of that.
Okay.
That has not been a validation for me. I think the validation has been more so me just believing in myself. And so, because I think in that it becomes this, I want to find like the right word to say with it. It becomes like this mind game almost, that like I'm seeking validation from somebody that says that I need to be here. And so I feel like first it has to start with the belief of yourself.
Yeah.
And so I think when I started to believe that I could do these things, or like they started to be on my vision board, or like I started to realize like, oh no, this is like within my 5-year goals now.
Mm-hmm.
I started to attract the stuff. And so I think I had to believe it first, where like as I believed it and people met me, they saw it like, oh wow, like you're Ricky. It's like I can't even put anything on it. It's like you're you. It's just like this combination of education, you know, hospitality, food and beverage, art, music. You know, when people think of that, they think of me. Or like marketing, branding, all these things. It's like, wow, it's like I got a lot of things in my toolbox. And I think that's the thing I've learned, where it's like, all right, what are skills I can have that can translate into different industries, different fields. Where that's why I was talking about creative direction, where from like creative direction, it's like that could be from me working with a photographer and giving them like a concept or like aesthetically what I'm seeing, like almost from like a DP profession, like standpoint of like what needs to be in frame, to even like me working with a designer and giving the concept and just giving them like free range art direction wise, like, yeah, you just bring the color and everything else to life. We're like, I think it became this whole thing. I had to understand how to start communicating with people. So I think that's one of like my best skill sets. Like I understand how to communicate with a lot of different people in different lines of business, especially creatives, where it's like the whole thing. I know like a lot of people think it's crazy that Virgil said like, yeah, I designed this thing over text messages, or we build out this story. But nah, like it's almost like email. It's almost like if you're very effective in what you're saying, or you know the terminologies for these industries. And that's why like even creatives, you listening, I'm not saying you gotta go to college, but you gotta learn. You gotta be a student of whatever you're doing. Best be a student of your craft. Like learn your industry. Like study great people, visit great places, where like the more you're a student, it's the more when you're in these rooms, you're gonna be able to keep up.
Yeah. Execution
is vital.
Earlier you spoke about execution, and for me that resonated a lot more now because of this brand that I'm building and the gradient. And you know, like how you said, like you have an idea and you execute that idea and you find so much enjoyment doing that. Right? I find so much enjoyment just having these ideas with this particular brand and just like executing the ideas from inception, from the mind to the physical, where everyone is a part of it. Which one of your projects were you the most fulfilled from a execution standpoint?
Oh, Shockoe Wine, hands down. Shockoe Wine. Like it's a bottle right there, ladies and gentlemen. Shockoe Wine. Like hands down. Like when I say God is amazing, and like is truly an understatement. And I feel like this is like the one project that I was able to bring to market where it wasn't just me. That's crazy. I just did an interview this morning about this, and I was telling this lady how I couldn't have done this by myself. Like a lot of the idea, vision, like I had, but I couldn't have like executed it by myself. And so this is why I think it's so important to have great partners. And so like I commend like my partners, my friends like Chris Randolph, Steve Johnson III, where like with this venture, we're really able to all leverage like our past performance in food and beverage. And it's just been amazing so far. Even just the response, the support we've been getting, just within Richmond and outside of Richmond, where when you talk about like you doing something and people like getting it or seeing it, it's like with this, it resonates in a way when like, wow, and it's just, I think it's a lot of different entry points just with the brand that it resonates with people for different reasons. Mm-hmm. And so, I just love what we're doing with that. For us, for a brand, it's like 3 pillars to kind of lead us: inclusion, community, and education. And so, like, really, I really look at this, like, even me and my partners, we all look at this as like more than just wine. It's like really a vehicle to do, other things, or really, have an impact in the community. And so something we were able to do over Labor Day, we were able to partner with Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, the Richmond chapter. And we were able to do a jazz and wine fundraiser. And we raised $8,000 for college scholarships for Richmond youth. And so it's just different initiatives or different projects like that, that we're doing with the wine that, excites me. Or even just how we're doing events, but at these events it becomes an opportunity for us to educate people about wine, because a lot of times like red wine can be so polarizing. And I don't know, I'm just excited about the growth for it. First quarter 2022, we're planning to release a sparkling rosé, but the response for our red blend, it's a 2019 vintage, has been amazing. Like I said, we're in Wegmans, Midlothian, Shore Pump, soon to be in a lot of other Wegmans in Virginia. We're here at Common House, about to be at some of your favorite restaurants in Richmond. But in it, I think it's just the belief, it's a great product. Like something me and my partners are really big on is craftsmanship and like, just quality, quality product, and like, everyone who's tasted the wine, they definitely talk about that, how like it's a really balanced red blend. It's not too sweet, it's not too strong or bitter. Like it has a good balance in the middle, but it pairs well with food. Anything that's like any grilled meats, like steak, lamb chops, burgers, even cigars, or there's even something you can have by itself. So I think that's probably the project that I'm most proud of. Even so, where like even out of college, like one of my first jobs was like working with LVMH as a brand ambassador for like Belvedere Vodka. And so just always having like this experience in like the spirits industry, or just experience in hospitality, where just being able to own the brand and kind of bring in the market and really can kind of control the narrative of what we're doing. It's amazing.
Yeah. Could you? So you got to the execution part. Could you speak a little bit more? Could you speak a little bit more about the inception of the wine?
Sure.
Because sometimes people typically see like the end point, right?
Yeah.
People don't necessarily hear about like the beginning process of like an idea potentially just coming out of nowhere, right? You're just sitting down somewhere, or you're doing something, and you have this idea. And
so it all started with whiskey. So it started, my mentor is Kenny Burns, and he's a part owner of a brand called Uncle Nearest Premium Whiskey. And so they've been in market, I want to say, probably like 5-6 years, but it's the fastest growing independent whiskey brand in American history. It pays homage to Nearest Green. He was a black man that taught Jack Daniels how to distill whiskey, and he was the first master distiller for Jack Daniels. in it, me and my partners, the first thing we worked on was actually Uncle Nearest. And so when Uncle Nearest got distribution in Virginia, we did a lot of work in helping them get accounts in Central Virginia. From there, I was doing research just on winemaking in Virginia. Virginia is like one of the top regions in the U.S. for winemaking, outside of California. And so in it, just doing research on place. We're not moving around. Like everybody's in the house doing this whiskey thing. Like, all right, what other things can we figure out? And so started doing research on just like custom crush in Virginia, like how that process works. From there, I got connected with George Hodson. He's the CEO of Veritas Winery. From there, just more conversations, and then in this time, like me, Chris, and Steve are just meeting. Like we're doing this work with Uncle Nearest, helping them out, but it's us doing pro bono work because we're thinking like at this point we're going to be an agency and we're going to get Uncle Nearest as a client and stuff. And then it gets to a point one meeting I bring this up, and it kind of was just like a light bulb, like, oh wow. Because in this point, my partner Chris, he used to own a restaurant in Shockoe called Shockoe Whiskey and Wine. And so Shockoe Whiskey and Wine is like the parent company name. We're like we still saw there was brand equity in the name. But when I brought this into the meeting, it was like, hold up, like now we can shift to product. It's almost like, oh, we can, because initially our thought was, even for the brand store we have now, it was just like, oh yeah, we could take the whole experience of like how it was in the restaurant, put it in the bottle, we selling it. But in it, that's how it really started. It was me doing research, kind of already having people in play where like we knew we wanted to do business in this field, but just wasn't sure of what. And just kind of bringing it, and it was just initially it was an idea for a smaller project. I was just thinking, and nothing like this. And I said having great partners where it was like they really believed and kind of saw what I was saying. It was like, nah, this is something here. Like, let's really meet with George and like kind of explain like what we want to do and how we can kind of take this off. And so it's been a great start, with everything. So far, like we're over like 12,000. 12, not 12, soon to be 12,000. I'm claiming it, yes.
Speak that.
We're over 1,200 bottles sold just from our website, just direct to consumer. And so even in that's a feat where you're thinking about just moving that much wine or having that many people in tune. And so it's exciting now being in this retail phase where like now we got like places we can kind of send people to, destinations. But the process of it has been so cool. It's been a great process where I don't know, I just enjoy it. I'm excited about just how our plans to growing our portfolio more into other like wines and eventually getting into spirits. But it's something that excites me. It's just like it's like one of those things you're thinking about a dream or you're thinking about something like I would want to make happen, but I don't know how it's going to start. Yeah. And so I just even think about we're still kind of like within our first 6 months and like everything that's happened for us, it's just like, wow, like I could have never imagined. And it's not saying like, oh yeah, we're not putting the work in, but yeah, it's still this whole thing of like this awe of like, this ain't all me. Mm-hmm. It's like I'm doing the work, like, God meeting us halfway, but like, yeah, it's like one of the things you just kind of understand it. And I think when you get to that place, you start to realize like the fight is fixed. Mm-hmm. Like there's a lot of stuff that's gonna come at you. It's just distractions. Yeah, it's like whatever you really want to do or make happen, it's gonna happen. Mm-hmm. The blessing is already there. You just gotta go through the whole part of getting to there. Yeah. But it's like it's not this whole thing that like it's like the word says no weapon, like no weapon formed against you, and so. It's almost like you gotta ask yourself, what truths are you really standing on? Because that's the whole thing. Even with faith, it's like, what do you really believe? Like, what is your foundation? And so I think that's the other part about creators, where it becomes so thing. We think about mental health, or this thing we think about a starving artist. It's like, what's your foundation? Mm-hmm. do you believe it's just a season, or is this something you so checked out that like you can't come to grasp with it? Where I think it gets back to what I was saying earlier, like that self-awareness, where like you got to be very aware, because sometimes the bad things, it don't even got to be anything dealing with me professionally or dealing with people. Like the bad thing could be me self-sabotaging, like this fear of success or this fear that I'm not good enough. We're like, this shit's real, man. I've met a lot of creative people, bro, who are like more talented than me, but like they're in their own way. Like they're in their own way where it's like you should be so much further. And it's like, I'm not even gonna say like I'm the most talented, but I'm gonna work the hardest.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the whole thing too, where it's just like talent without work don't get you nowhere. But if you work, you can develop talent. And so it's this whole thing where I think you gotta ask yourself, like, what is your foundation and where do you want to go? Because it's like, if you stand firm on that, it's proven. It's very proven, bro. Like Tyler the Creator is the most perfect example of this now, where I can probably say in context that people can see this. Tyler the Creator was making like underground, backpack, moody, dark music. First video, bro, had a roach coming out his mouth. The music he's making now, bro, how it's like, you just gotta have an idea of where you want to go.
Yeah.
Like everybody's not gonna get it initially, but you just gotta start somewhere.
Yeah. That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah, you just gotta start somewhere, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely remember when he first came out, it was like super extremely dark, and they were on like that tip where people didn't necessarily understand, or they were like too afraid to go down that.
It was route. Like it was like a rabbit hole.
Yeah,
it was like a rabbit hole, because this was like early on where like there was Our Future, Wolfgang, Kill 'Em All. Like this is like, if you really like a Our Future fan, you'll understand the whole thing of Golf Wang and how all that started. But this is early on where it was like very dark, like cultish boom bap.
Yeah, facts.
And so in it's just, he even said he always had ideas he wanted to make this music, or he was always like inspired by NERD and shit. And so it's like this whole thing of like, he never lost sight of that. You know what I'm saying? Where like how you start don't gotta be how you finish. It's about development, where I think the greatest thing you can allow the world to see is you evolve before their eyes. You know what I'm saying? Where it's almost like if you're that creative where people are watching you become something before their eyes, like that's when it's undeniable. You know what I'm saying? Because I think a lot of times we're chasing something where like, I got to be everything right now in this moment. But like, what are you offering the world? What are you offering the world where the world needs to stop? Like, somebody I look at is offering a lot to the world? Travis Scott. Travis Scott is offering a lot to the world. Not even just music, bro. Just did a celebrity softball game, putting out sneakers every other month, collabs with brands every other month. Like, his offering is there where like he's here for the work. It's a lot of people could be in the same position, but like they not here for the work. You know what I'm saying? Where it's about the work, and like the more work you put in, is like the more you're gonna see with your output and the results.
Yeah, I thought growing up that people who were the most talented were going to be the people who were going to be like the most successful, right? And you spoke to that. Like usually those aren't the people, because in many ways, for some of those people, they get in the way of their own success, whether it is belief, whether it is how they were like raised. But typically, those people are not the most successful. And I just always, just growing up, I just correlated it to like the most talented would be the most successful. But then as I got older, like
who do you believe becomes the most successful now?
The people who have the mindset of people who believe in themselves, people who believe in themselves, the people who believe they can do something and they put the work in doing it. Those are the people who become the most successful in my mind.
Nah, I can't argue with that. Like, I know I tell my kids this, and this is like this great belief. Like, and when I say this, I'm not saying this in a derogatory way. I
For
even
sure.
identify with this category. Like, I believe like nerds like run the world.
Mm.
I think it's like the cool kid. Not. I think like the cool kid we think that's going to be cool and going to be on top. That's not it. It's like it's the kid that's quiet, that's like getting the A's in all his classes, that's like constantly reading, like when everybody else is playing and study hall. Like that's the kid that's gonna have the opportunities, or like you gotta look at like an Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. It's like it's about this whole thing of like when did your love for knowledge start? Because I think when you think about kids that fall in this category with like I love school or I love learning, oh bro, the trajectory is so high.
Yeah.
Because it's never this whole thing I'm intimidated of learning this because it's too much. It's almost like it's almost going to empower me now, where that's why I feel like this whole idea of just being a student is so important, where even for myself, like now being 35, even teaching on a college level for 7 years, I still feel like I know nothing. Or I realize even like this industry, if we think about marketing or advertising, like every day it changes. It's like, you know, TikTok is the thing now and it helps us determine who's the now hot rapper or artist. Where it's like, what mattered yesterday doesn't matter today. You know, a lot of times you kind of got to do the work to keep yourself up to speed of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do you find balance? You know, because you are a husband, you are a father, you are so many things to yourself, but also to the people around you. How do you find the balance between all of that?
I think it's about having priorities first. And I just always make sure I give my family my best time. It's not the most of my time, but it's the best of my time. It's like, how can I give you undivided attention? Or how can we be very intentional about what we're doing in these moments or where we're going? And so I think in that, it's kind of allowed me to get to this place of having balance where, you know, I think now I'm at this place where a lot of stuff I'm doing, like I want to do. And so it's not too many things that feel like a chore. And then there's also, I'm at a place where like I have a lot of flexibility with my schedule where I'm able to kind of control that. And so I think that's important, where that was like something I always valued even as a kid. I knew whatever I did, I knew I wanted the flexibility where I didn't have to be in the office every day. And so I think with that, it gives me a balance of, you know, where I'm still able to, you know, be a husband and a father. You know, I'm able to have, you know, days where I'm on the road that I can come back and kind of fall into a groove of, you know, doing stuff with dance or gymnastics with my daughters. And, you know, I just never lose sight of what the priority is. You know, like I think when you make the wrong things the priority, you know, that's when life starts to fall out of whack, you know. And so for me, it's like, you know, God, family, you know, everything else. You know, I feel like as long as I keep God and family, like, you know, first, you know, everything else gonna fall in place. You know, I don't gotta do too much. As long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, I do what I said I was going to do. I feel like, you know, everything should be fine.
Yeah, everything will work out.
Yeah.
So where do you see yourself, your projects, your personal projects, your passion projects, or the things you want for yourself, for your family within the next 3 to 8 years?
Man, big, like really big. And it was like, this is probably the first time I'm actually gonna say this out loud. Like I've always thought this, but I'm actually at this place now. Like just really more mogul mindset. You know, like really scaling. Like scaling with the wine. Outside the wine, you know, we also have a ginger beer, garage ginger beer. We had Lily Pearl. We got a cocktail on their menu called the Unsung Hero. But like really growing like more in the mogul mindset. You know, like, you know, like I'll be lying if I didn't say this, but it's like, you know, Puffy is probably like one of the biggest inspirations to me, you know, and like I think like him, Dame, like Master P, as a kid, like these were like all people I looked at, and it was just like the lifestyle piece. And so like even now, at this place of you know, working in music again, and you know, just doing a lot of different things, you know, with like, you know, to still have an interest in fashion or just even film, where just really want to grow, you know, just really want to create a lifestyle where overall there's just a lot of touch points, you know, and I see that coming, you know. It's just the whole thing for me is just scaling, you know. It's like I look at myself as a boutique experience. And so it's just now creating like tangible pieces to kind of complement that, you know, whether it's art, you know, where's this go now, like just really wanting to get my artwork in hotels, you know, just kind of even creating in this mindset of just even thinking aesthetically, you know, where about stuff can live. Because now like I'm working in music, I'm talking to a lot of artists about like where are these records going to live. And so I think if we create with intention about how is this going to be used, or who is consuming this, or where is this going to live, it kind of gives us a better understanding of just, I don't like creating aimlessly.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like it's like creating in vain,
Mm-hmm.
where it's just like, you know, I'm just very intentional. And I think being very intentional, like, I don't know, like 8 to 10, 8, 5 to, what you say, 5 to 8 years, 3 to 8, like,
38, yeah.
Man, like, Lord willing, maybe the president of Def Jam, maybe a president of a HBCU. I don't know. I got a lot of aspirations, but it's like I don't really got a timeline on it. It's just like I know I'm moving in the right direction with it, and you know, just really confident about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see all of that.
Nah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm glad the belief is there, because the belief,
I believe it, bro.
the belief is like that's half the battle.
Yeah.
Nobody can believe. It's
Yeah.
almost like if I say something, you've been like, I don't know, bro. Like the belief is half the battle, and so I feel like the fact that like first I believe, somebody else believes, it's like it's like touch and agree, where it's like now this becomes a thing. And so yeah, I said it. I want to become president of Def Jam or HBCU. I really want to do both in my lifetime. But
Yeah, I believe it. I think if you believe it in yourself, if you see it for yourself, then it's
it's
absolutely gonna happen.
already done.
Yeah, it's already
already
you
done.
know it, bro.
It's already done.
Yeah. So we're about to wrap up now.
Okay.
And typically we like to end it off by allowing the guest to leave a gem for people to, you know, to leave with, to have with. And obviously, like you've dropped gems the entire time, but it's like that one gem that like you would like for people to have, to hold, and to keep with them as they go down their journey.
Gotcha.
For their life, for their creative life. What would you have to say?
Double down on yourself. And like what I mean is like bet everything on you. 'Cause it's like, why not? And that could be a lot of different things. You probably think like, all right, what do you mean? Like maybe that's you know, going back to school, or maybe not even going to school. Maybe it's you getting a certification, or taking a class to learn a new skill, or traveling to go to a conference or a workshop. It's like, how are you investing in yourself? It's like, if you really want to DJ, buy some DJ equipment, you know, or like get a mentor, like whatever you got to do to make you better. It's like double down. It's like, don't wait, you know, like start today. Like really don't wait, because I think in you waiting, you're wasting time. And it's like none of us are here where we have the luxury to waste time. It's like time is the only thing that is not a luxury. You know what I'm saying? It's like yesterday is yesterday. We can't get it back. Even like the 30 minutes, whatever we've been talking now, that's gone. Like we got to be in this moment, or like this moment is gonna get past. And so in it,
Yeah.
I think it's just like being a like a good steward of time, because it's like we all only get one go at this.
Yeah.
And it's just like, my whole thing is just like, you might as well go all the way, or at least work towards it. You know, it's like, don't be scared, you know, where I feel like there could be fear. But like, even do it scared, man. Like, don't allow fear to hold you back from you becoming the person that you are destined to be. Yeah.
Hey, man. I felt that.
Oh, man. Just speaking that truth.
That's good to hear, bro.
Yeah.
You know, like I said earlier, thank you.
No problem, man.
Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for giving me your time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This has been great.
Yes, this was a pleasure. I also want to say thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to this to the very end to get these gems. My name is Antonio Knox. That is Ricky Parker. And this was the Gradient Radio.
Peace.